Worry not, because the attention that you give yourself is always going to be one thing or another. You are moving into structure, always will be. Because if you don't develop that kind of understanding, one that is necessary for you to complicate things, because things need to be complicated if they have stagnated and have been stagnating for a very long time. You need to complicate things, make them understood. You believe that you have this way of giving yourself away. I don't think that it's necessary to give yourself away to do this. But even if you do, even if you have this understanding and you're moving into it in a certain direction, you are forming your own mind to say, to be, and to feel. You're discovering things that are not always going to be the same thing that you wanted to discover. At first, you're sensing that because you're not really living into the things that you wanted to live into. And returning to the site that you have given yourself, you're discussing these things as they are forming into your mind. I don't think you need to do that. I don't feel you need to do that. But if you want to go towards that process, that way, that sense and being, you're always going to be here, thinking ahead, not really following into the lines of what you can understand that you're directing in front of you. This is the beginning of what you can seek. You are not always finding it to be free, because what you can believe is always going to be thinking mindedness. You're not wanting this. You are understanding it as more. The more that you search for it, the more that you conclude that this is the matter of thought that you want to be involved in. You're beginning to find that freedom is always going to be searched into your message. Is always going to be pulled through, since you are necessarily going towards the ideas that you're putting through a figment of imagination that doesn't fit your current standing anymore. You're wanting. You're discovering that this is more predictable, more in a predictable sense of being free than what you could conclude. I would take hold that if I understood something to be freeing, I would want it to be more of an impact in my life. Also, if I can take hold of what I can take to be free, what I can understand that this is not just me reacting to me, but reacting to what else it can be, not finding that there is an idea that would want me to go forward. No, just moving through it and then understanding while I search free for it, I will be believing that the thinking that I've been doing is always going to be the same thing. Not really just discussing and then wanting. I would want that to be more, and then defining it as such, I would understand it to be more. You see, I would push forward into the unknown that I believe only one thing is known, that it's more, and that will be enough. That will be enough for me to interact more with this, and that should take me forward. But then again, if you don't believe, if you can't see, if you can't really listen to what you can have, and realizing that what you have, that what you want, that thing that you understand as such, it is more of a beginning, more of a time spent here in the first place that you might enjoy. You were thinking and dealing with it in the sense that you might not understand yet. So take hold. Take hold of what can be freeing. Take hold of what can be demanding, and reach into it, because taking hold of it will be the first step to freedom. That's usually it is that way. No, if you're not taking hold of thing, this thing in front of you, if you're not, you're just going through the same old habits. You're not finding anything new. You're not moving into anything new. And you might need to digest that a bit, just to see more clearly what that could mean for you. What could that mean for you, really? Well, digest that and search into it. You feel like you know, and I'm clearly feeling the same, like I know. So, don't interrupt the feeling, the flow, what you give yourself and then what you take hold of. It's not just here to begin. I'm just saying it because I want it to be known. You are wanting to go into what you can understand, because if you are believing that this sense that you have, this idea in your mind, this thinking that is dealing with what you can deal with, that is being free of your own choices, but mostly your wants, your desires. Since your desires are not always good for you, sometimes they are, most of the times they're not, and they hinder you from actually taking the choices necessary. You're just going back and forth into the same path that you've always been going to. Look, the choice is yours, really, to make. You find freedom here, or you don't. It's not difficult. Take yourself to understand this, and more can be seen, more can be cleared out. I would make myself understand this if I couldn't. I would take everything I could, all the information I could, to understand it. This freedom is the most important thing we have. Freedom to make your own choices, to go wherever you want, and to not be taken by something you don't want to be taken by. More importantly, to be able to focus when you want to focus. Because if you can't focus and then you are going anyways, you're just moving towards what you call your space. You're dealing with what you cannot find freely, and then you're dealing with that again and again and again. It's not helping you in any ways. So, understand this, please. Because if you don't, what are you? Really? Where are you? Really? I would hold to point out that there is a way to see, a way to be. You find it freely, and it is enough in many ways. You see, it's like you take hold of what you can and you believe it to be, but if you can't know, if you can't see, you're realizing that what you deal with is one and the same. Beginning to find the thinking comes with yourself. You're learning. You're beginning to understand. But the definition of what you can take hold of and what you can understand is always going to be one thing that you don't know of. I don't think you want to go ahead and see that. No, it's more like you're planning to understand it, but then again, you're not. Why is that so? It doesn't need to be a struggle. It can be quite easy. You going for what you want, but then again, something is hindering you. You're not realizing it, are you? Because if you would have known, would you have been watching this video for this long? I don't think so. I doubt you do. It's a mind. You play with it and then find it freely. Go ahead. Search. You take what you can. It's in a format of I choose this and I want it to be good to me. I want it to be noticed. I want this sense of I understand to be freely here. Because if I can conclude that what I take hold of is part of my interaction with you, my dealings with you, it is going to be part one of what I need to be free. So I'm not sensing an incongruence. I'm just sensing that what is predictable is going away, and unpredictability. What's unpredictable is coming closer. Like, I mind myself, and since I do, I find it to be free to enjoy, to interact and see. Look, my plan is just the same as it always has been. I will take hold of what I can. Just enough. No more than that. And with that in mind, I don't have to reason out to follow anything or any search, anything sought out or so. It's all just the same. It's me moving into what I can give, hearing out and then feeling that, okay, this is reason enough to contemplate, to be free, going ahead, and disparaging thoughts are moving out. I am being alone here instead. Wisdom speaks of the nature of thinking as a nature lesser, something we shouldn't put too much importance on. We would be better at this dealing with what can be had, what we notice. I think to take the directions I give myself and use those to move me forward is more than enough. Most of the time. It's like the choice you make to appear more clear, to find yourself freely going, and then you're disappearing into it, and then you don't want to be found out that you're concluding your story. No. You want it to undergo a change and a transformation into something new. You just want that to be more than it can, like more than you understand. If not, then what are you beginning to see? What are you dealing with? What are you taking hold of? You're not giving yourself that freedom. You're not inclined to give yourself that freedom, since what does that tell you, really? What do you manage to see? Because if you're not believing in belief of what you think is going to go ahead to be the catalyst to change you, I don't think you're enjoying it truly then. You're not. But it's like we begin to see. We want to take hold of what we can when we begin to see. Choose what is here, what is in inclination, freeing what would give us more if we only had more to give, if we didn't listen, if we made choices here to be final. Looking at it, and then you're sensing, oh, I do give myself enough space, I do give myself enough leeway to move, and choose. So, if I had that, at least, that much, nothing more, just that, then I think it would come natural to me to make changes, to build better habits, to not forget, really, to be part of. I like it that way, that the thing that I search for, the thing that I understand as is being, like, it's not really finding me to take hold of. You're not going ahead because you're not seeing, you're not moving, so you're freeing yourself in a way that allows you to go ahead to search, to deal with the thinking that you want to deal with. No, you're moving into it. You're turning ahead and seeing that, okay, what you cause, what reaction that you give yourself, that freeing form of mind that you want to take into you, that sense that you want to believe, that is always going to be the same thing. You're not moving into it since you're not finding it to be true. No, you're wanting it to be true. That's why you're moving into it, even if it's not. So don't forget that the plainest thing you can do is structure yourself to go upwards. I don't find that freedom comes because you're not lacking. No. Because specifically because you're lacking. After all, what good can you give it? What is that noise? The change you're not moving into. What is that? It will be part of your mind, a continuous thought that just stays there, reminding you of what you could be, what you could do. You can't free yourself from it. You truly can't. Unless, you know. So where is it? Where do we go? Where do we go to understand that this thing that we are going for, this thing that we're moving into, this discussion that we understand is important? We will give it time. I give myself enough, just enough to move forward, to be part of, to see. If I can't give myself that much, that which I think is enough, that which I think will move me forward, that which I know will be part of what I do. If I can do that much, then what am I truly doing? I'm not standing here proud. No, I would be quivering in fear, trying to understand something that I can't. It's not a life to live. It is not. It truly isn't.